Okay. Every time we take a drink, let's do that.
All right, here we go. Episode.
Are we recording?
3. Hey, do you know it wasn't? I didn't realize what this meant. And then I was like, what is she do? Hiya! I was like, what is that? And then I was like, oh,
Karate
it's like
chop.
action. It's not a karate chop.
Oh, that is
Hey,
a karate
it's
chop.
action.
You're supposed to get with the game, Mike.
Yeah, Michael. Everyone's doing
Let's
it.
focus here. It's episode 3.
And we have new lights, and they're bright. Do you have a permit for these lights?
Hang on, I got to get a sip of
Matt?
water. There we go.
Okay. It's
Children.
We can start now.
We can
All
start.
of them children. All right, episode 3.
Episode 3.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way.
We said we were going to jump right into the next episode and discuss the experience I had with the town logo. That one right there.
It's a good town logo.
It
is.
I like it.
It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hired a new marketing agency. Hey Duck King was our marketing agency.
Interesting.
And suddenly disappeared. They folded.
Mm-hmm.
No idea where they went. Lots of rumors behind that one. But we hired a new marketing agency named Happy shortly after my experience with COVID and the pergola and all of that, those shenanigans. I started emailing the town for permission to use the logo, the new logo. And I sent multiple emails, primarily to April Ralph, who was our tourism director at the time. Multiple emails without a response. And then in the process of not getting a response, I started working on doing what I was trying to get the town to give us permission to do, which was use the logo for branding and merch and all of the things that I felt like was kind of a no-brainer that we should all be able to use the town logo because
Our money paid for it.
yeah, well, yeah,
I mean-
we paid for it, but also the fact that why not, push our branding out to everybody all over the tri-state area.
Absolutely.
So in the process, I started creating merch. I started having conversations with apparel company and a trademark attorney because I just didn't want to end up in a hot spot. And
Getting sued again.
yeah,
Okay.
well,
Criminal charges.
yeah,
More criminal
all of
charges.
the above. And so anyway, created a line of merchandise and said, you know what, to heck with it. We're just going to run it. And I finally got a response. And I already had all of my merch ready to go and got a response that said, we're going to retain the rights to use the logo and not grant access to anybody. And I thought, that's really odd. And so in my process with the trademark attorney, we started talking about, the New Mexico State logo that has the Zia, which everybody uses, and created all this merch. And then I got the letter and I thought, great, here we go. And I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming as fast as it came. So the day we received merch and put it on our shelves at the coffee shop at Steam Coffee, I received a cease and desist letter.
Another one.
There's a pattern here.
Yeah.
It's a
From
pattern.
the town's attorney
Of course.
telling me to immediately cease the use of the logo. So I walked across the street and I laid the letter down on Linda's desk, and Linda looked at me. She said,
Do the voice.
what voice?
Matt? Yeah, Matt, you can't use our trademarked logo.
And I said, Linda, I said, the thing is, before I ever created a stitch of clothing, a stitch of apparel, I had a conversation with a trademark attorney. And I said, you know, the funny thing is, come to find out your logo's not trademarked. And she turned as bright red as the logo. And she said, you didn't give us time to trademark it.
So she just lied.
Yeah.
She just
She
was bluffing you.
Completely bluffed and lied to me and told me that they had it trademarked. And what's funny is I had had the conversations with my trademark attorney leading up to it. He said, you can trademark a logo, and especially a logo that's tied to a business. But trademarking a logo that's created with public funds, like you mentioned earlier, and in reality is just a font. You can use a font in any way that you want to use a font. And he said, you know, if you really want to protect yourself, he's like, I don't think there's any need to protect yourself. It's as much your logo as it is anybody else's logo. And he said, but if you feel like you need to protect yourself, change it 20% and slap it on a t-shirt and go. And so we did. We changed it 20%. And when I shared that with Linda, and she said, that's exactly why we don't want anybody using our logo. We don't want anybody changing it or doing anything different
then
with
let
it.
y'all use it.
And I said,
then let people use it.
yeah. And that's exactly what I told her. I said, so, you know, the thing is, I asked permission to use this logo. I sent multiple emails. And I said, by the time you responded with an email telling me that I couldn't use the logo, because we were already so close to summer landing, I had to go ahead and order merchandise to have it here in time for the summer, or I wasn't going to have anything. And I said it was a great design and I wanted to use it. And the reality is everybody should be able to use it.
Absolutely.
Why would we as a town not want businesses pushing the branding and the logo of Red River, New Mexico out to Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all over the United States?
We need everyone doing it.
Yeah,
everyone.
absolutely.
Right.
But what were they going to do with it? Like, if businesses in town didn't use it, then like who was it going to use it? Was it just for like a website? Was it just
I don't know. They don't
for-
even
like
use
it
it.
doesn't even make sense.
They don't even use it for the town logo. So they have a town logo, and then they have a town logo. And so we use the new town logo for all of the tourism department stuff, but we use an old, dated version of the town logo for the town pages and stuff like that. I've never really understood that. But what was interesting is I walked out of her office almost as quickly as me receiving a cease and desist letter for putting the town logo on merchandise on my shelves. When I walked out the door, probably literally within 30 minutes, there was a mass email that went out to the entire town. And the email stated something along the lines, we have decided that we would like for everyone in the town to use our logo on your branding
Wow.
and merchandise. So feel free to use it.
That
Yep.
was so kind. How generous.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Excellent.
really,
Uh-huh.
how generous.
Yeah.
But it began really kind of a process of a back and forth, contentious relationship with me pushing the boundaries, and I was very intentionally pushing the boundaries. I had made a decision that when they had decided to double down and not let me use the logo after dragging it out for a month or more, that I was going to die on this hill. And I started at that point in time realizing that somebody really kind of needed to stand up to that stuff. And the control, the manipulation, the bluffing or lying about specific things
Lying.
really just got to me. I think she decided shortly after that rather than being an enemy, she would try to make me an ally. And she put me on Economic Development Committee.
Can't wait to hear how that went.
That was an interesting process. And there were three of us that sat on that committee. It was me, Clay Robertson, and Karen Kelly, who were pretty tight-knit. Because I sat on that committee a couple of times. You mentioned yesterday that the process has not always been to reapply. And there were years that we never reapplied. We just continued our service.
They change it
Well, and
depending on who.
So on
Who they
P&Z, Justin Brandenburg said he never reapplied. And so I was on it 6 months, and now when the list came out yesterday or 2 days ago,
gone.
I'm no longer on it.
Yeah.
And I was never told to reapply. So she just removed me.
Because she also makes phone calls to people who she wants to reapply
Yeah.
and make sure that they reapply. And guess who did reapply? Her son-in-law.
Her son, stepson.
Stepson?
Stepson.
Stepson.
Her husband.
Oh, and her husband, of course. Of course.
Yep.
Curious that they filled out their paperwork. I'm sure if they didn't, it's been done now.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
it's going on right now.
It begs the question, why are you having such a hard time getting people to apply to serve on a committee?
Well, why were you removed from the committee?
Well, shortly after, admitted into the Economic Development Committee, and I'll be honest, like at first I was like, oh, she's trying to extend an olive branch, but I've since seen her do the same thing with other people that become contentious with her. It's almost like her way of diffusing the situation, not really extending an olive branch, but almost putting them in a position where they're kind of under her control. Initially, I did feel a little bit honored the fact that I was sitting on the Economic Development Committee. Well, it was COVID, and COVID year 2020. And we were really not spending any money. We had spent, I believe it was $10,000 on a Texas Monthly ad. And to my knowledge, that's the only money we spent in the year 2020 on
I think it actually
marketing.
might have been 20,000
May have been 20,000
on the Texas
10 to
Monthly.
$20,000.
Yeah.
And
What's
we
being-
started asking questions. Why are we not spending money? These businesses need us to market for them. And that's the whole purpose of the Economic Development Committee, is that you oversee lodge tax collection. And 51% of a lodge tax collection by state law has to be spent on marketing for the town. And we started asking questions. Clay Robertson was a CPA. We started digging. We started looking into numbers, and we couldn't figure out the budgets. And we started asking questions in economic development. And the minute we started asking questions, the minute we started getting pushback. And it got really frustrating. And month after month, we're asking, where is the money? Why, if we're collecting all of this money, and we knew we were collecting upwards of $350,000 to $400,000 annually in lodge tax, where's the money going? What are we doing with it?
Now we're collecting $1 million.
Yeah.
So it's grown.
What
a
are
lot.
we doing with it? And what we finally were told was, that is none of your business.
Wow.
That is not what you're here for. You are not in economic development for the purpose of
Asking
looking at
questions?
budgets or asking questions about,
or developing the
oh my
economy.
gosh. And boy, it got very heated and contentious. And then we started throwing around. It was funny because Daniel Lamb was the one that had turned us on to it. And he said, what you need to do is mention the fact that New Mexico is a sunshine state. And he said, as soon as you mention that, the doors are going to open. And so we did. We mentioned, New Mexico is a sunshine state. You've got to give us information that we're asking for. And the next cycle of economic development happened, and all three of us simultaneously at one point in time were removed from the committee.
Of course.
Not a word that we were being removed, no knowledge that we had been removed. We were just replaced. They didn't go through an application process like she's doing right now. She just put new people, new blood on it. And then she replaced 3 business owners with people who didn't even own businesses for the sake of economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a slap in the face. What's the point? We're serving our butts off on these committees, making all kinds of decisions. There were tons of things that we were doing at the time, battling. I mean, we were doing some really stupid stuff like hiring influencers out of Santa Fe to come up and paying them, I think, like 10 grand or something stupid to a matching grant. But the influencers were like micro influencers. Some of them had like less than 1,000 followers.
So none of them my caliber.
No, none of them.
That's right.
They hire Michael.
I do it for free. I still do it for free.
Yeah, but it was just like we were doing some and really, marketing in regions that nobody wanted to market to. We didn't want to market to Albuquerque. When you started talking to business owners, nobody wanted, especially the lodge community, nobody wanted to market to Albuquerque. Why would you? Because they can make a day trip to Red River from Albuquerque rather than coming and spending 3 or 4 nights in Red River. And it's just the distance and the proximity is too close. They're not staying overnight. And if they are staying overnight, they weren't spending as much money. And the data reveals that. The data shows that people from that market and that demographic are not spending near as much money as people from Texas and Oklahoma, and especially Houston markets, Dallas markets, Austin. They're spending a lot of money with us. And, I just think that we had a lot of things backwards. And then on top of that, to replace people who were moving in the right direction and challenging the system for the sake of Red River, challenging the status quo for the sake of Red River, challenging the status quo for the sake of the businesses that we represented as a economic development corporation. We were there to serve our fellow business owners. We were there to serve the economy. And then, bam, without any notice, we were replaced and removed. And not a word about it.
I currently know the feeling.
Yes. And you've also been asked to be, even before you served this term on P&Z, you had been asked to be on it before in one of those meetings you had with her that she denied.
After the mayoral election, when Linda appointed Angela to the council, she actually called me in for a meeting and asked me if I would be on P&Z to show that Michael Calhoun and all of us could get along. That was her exact words. And so I said yes and wanted to be on it. Well, I knew that she was appointing Angela, and I thought that was unfair to the town people, that where she could at least put it out for application and let the council decide. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want to go that route. So right before the meeting, I had put out a post reminding the town that during the mayoral election, a majority of the town voted for change. When you add my votes and Rob Swan's votes together, ours were towered over Linda's. So the town voted for change. And then when I did that, 3 days later was the council meeting, and she removed me off the list.
Actually, didn't even
well, she just didn't call my name.
Didn't even call his name, but asked him to serve on it.
Yep.
And then didn't say anything to him. I'm removing you, anything, just
nothing.
Removed. It's just all retaliatory. I think that a lot of people serve on these committees. They're giving a lot of time. They're giving a lot of effort, and then nothing is done. Decisions are already made before they go into these committees. Mm-hmm. We've even had Parks and Rec. How long have they been talking about these welcome signs at the end of town? How many bids have been taken for these welcome signs?
Sloan started the welcome signs when he was on council.
Way back when, and they had a decision made and what the design, and they wanted to order them. And still to this day, signs haven't been ordered.
They're just filling a seat.
They're
a lot of people that served before and don't want to serve again because they feel like they have no voice on the committees. Right. They always say, "What's the point?"
Yep.
I saw somebody when she posted the other day about committees. Somebody posted and said, "I'm sure," and I think they were from out of town. I'm sure that all the decisions are made before the committee ever meets, and that's the reality. I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed at it, and then some of the responses were like, "Oh no, that's not the case. These committees are very active, and you learn a lot in this process." And I thought, yeah, right.
We really need to think about it, though. The way that we go through committee members, the way we go through town people working at the town, it's hard for them to keep town employees. The way we go through our marshals, no one stays in these positions for more than a year, but we've had a mayor who's been in power for over 20 years. The only constant has been that.
Yeah.
That's
and
a
so
fact.
why do we have so much turnover and change with everything else except for with that position? And if her belief is that we need fresh ideas, same with the mayor position.
Well, I'll tell you this, that in my personal conversations with some of our marshals, the only reason they've left is because they got tired of serving her special interest.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we'll dive deeper into that.
Okay, episode 3, is that a wrap?
Yes.
That's a wrap.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way, been loud too long.